The stars burned cold and quiet above the edge of known space. Beyond the borders of the great Zarnathi Empire, where few dared to go, something new had arrived. A fleet, small by any measure, floated in silence. 6 ships, no more. Old hulls, patched armor, and no flashy weapons visible. Just plain shapes against the black. On the bridge of the lead ship, Captain Daniel Briggs sat with his hands folded. He watched the alien comm channel light up again. Voices filled the room, speaking, in sharp clicks and growls. "Tiny ships," one said, laughing. "What is this? A joke?" another asked. "Send them home before they break." The insults came fast and loud. The Zarnathi saw nothing but weaklings. Humans had only been in space for a short time. No colonies beyond their own system, no great wars, no power. The Zarnathi. Earth was a rock full of animals who barely knew how to fly. Daniel did not answer. He did not order anyone to speak. He simply let them talk. Behind him, others listened. Amanda Cole, once a systems analyst back on Earth, now worked tactical displays. She watched enemy ships form up into attack lines, 60 warships, heavy armor, plasma cannons, enough to turn the Terran fleet into dust. She turned to Daniel. "They're serious." He nodded. "Let them be." The Zarnathi sent one last message. "Leave now or be destroyed." Still, Daniel did not move. Minutes passed. Then, without warning, the first shot fired. A bright bolt of energy cut through space. It missed, but not by much. The crew tensed. Amanda looked at Daniel again. "We should move." He finally spoke. Calm, like he had all the time in the world. Not yet. Outside, the Zarnathi ships began to circle like wolves. They thought they had cornered prey. But these humans had trained for this. They had studied, they had planned, and they had come a long way to prove a point. As the enemy prepared for what they thought would be an easy victory, the human ship stayed, still, silent, watching, waiting, for the perfect moment to show the galaxy what they could really do. Inside the lead ship, the TSV Liberty E, life hummed with quiet focus. The crew was small, but every one of them had chosen to be there. They weren't forced into this mission. They volunteered. Amanda Cole sat at her station, eyes scanning data streams. She used to work on computer systems for a tech company back on Earth. Now she helped track alien warships and plan battle moves. She didn't know how she got here, but she wasn't going back. Next to her, Eli Ramirez checked engine readings. He had once built engines for space probes. Slow, unmanned, ships that barely left the solar system. Now he worked on a vessel that could outpace Zarnathi fighters. The rest of the crew came from all over Earth. Some were soldiers who left the military, tired of old wars. Others were scientists, engineers, even teachers who wanted to see something real. They were not heroes from stories. They were regular people. But they had trained hard, studied enemy tactics, practiced every move until it was perfect. On the bridge, Captain Daniel Briggs stood still, watching the screen. He had seen what the Zarnathi did to other worlds. Weak planets, easy targets. They took what they wanted. No mercy. Earth had watched, for years. Stayed quiet, learned. Now they were here. Not to start a war, but to show the galaxy that humans were not weak. From the comm station, a voice broke the silence. "Sir," they're asking again, "why are you here?" Daniel didn't answer right away. He let the question hang. Then he said, "We're here because they think we're nothing." Nobody laughed. They all knew what was coming. Outside, the Zarnathi fleet circled like sharks. They thought they were hunting prey, but they were about to learn a lesson. Humans were not easy targets. They were clever. They adapted, and when pushed, they fought harder than anyone expected. As the alien ships moved closer, the crew of the Liberty stayed calm. They trusted each other. They had trained for this moment. This was not a joke. It was a warning, a message written in steel and fire. The galaxy had ignored Earth for too long. Now, it would have to pay attention, because these 6 ships, filled with regular men and women from a distant blue world, were ready to prove something. They were here, and they were not leaving, not without making sure everyone remembered their name. The Zarnathi gave one last warning. Their message was clear. Leave now or be destroyed. Daniel Briggs didn't move. He didn't answer. He just watched the alien ships tighten their formation, glowing weapons charging. Then, they fired. A storm of energy bolts lit up space. Plasma streaked through the dark, aimed at the 6 human ships. But the TSV Liberty and her fleet were already moving, not fast like a fighter jet, but smart. Every turn, every roll, every burst of thrust had been planned. The shots missed, some by inches, some by seconds. Amanda Cole's fingers flew across her console. She tracked every enemy movement, feeding data to the other ships. The Zarnathi thought they were fighting blind prey. They weren't. "They're locking on," someone shouted. "Not for long," Amanda muttered. Eli Ramirez adjusted the ship's power flow. Engines pulsed in short bursts, making the Liberty hard to track. It danced through fire like it had no right to. From the comm station came another alien message. "What are you doing?" The voice growled. No one answered. There was nothing to say. Outside, the battle began to shift. The Zarnathi expected panic, screams, broken ships. Instead, they got silence and speed. The humans didn't fight like anyone they'd seen before. "Target the lead ship," a Zarnathi commander ordered, but the Liberty wasn't where they thought it would be. It slipped behind an asteroid, vanished from radar, then reappeared behind 2 enemy cruisers. "Now," Daniel said. The order passed fast. 6 human ships split apart, each heading for a different target. Small drones launched from hidden bays, tiny machines filled with code and charge. They flew like bees into the heart of the enemy fleet. One drone stuck to a Zarnathi engine. Another jammed a targeting system. A third dropped a pulse that scrambled. Sensors chaos followed. "We've lost lock. Enemy ships are invisible. What is this?" The Zarnathi tried to regroup, but the humans didn't let them. This wasn't about size. It was about skill. And Earth had plenty of that. As alarms blared across the alien fleet, Daniel watched the screen. His crew worked fast, quiet, focused. He looked at Amanda. She smiled. "They're starting to get it," he nodded. Yes. They were starting to understand. These weren't weaklings. They weren't easy prey. They were something new, something dangerous. And the galaxy had only just begun to learn what humans could really do. The Zarnathi called them ghosts, not warriors, not ships. Ghosts, because that's what the human fleet seemed like. There one moment, gone the next. Appearing behind enemy lines, striking hard, then vanishing before a return shot could land. It wasn't magic. It was planning. Every move had been tested. Every trick had been practiced. The TSV Liberty and her small fleet didn't have the strongest weapons or the thickest armor. But they had something better. Control, Amanda Cole, sat at her station, eyes scanning data streams faster than most could read. She saw patterns in the chaos. Enemy ships moved in ways that made sense, until they didn't. She fed new routes to the fleet, always keeping them ahead. Eli Ramirez worked beside her, adjusting power flows and engine timing. He made sure each ship used just enough energy to stay hidden, then burst into action when needed. Outside, the battle stretched across space like a game of shadows. One moment, the humans were gone. The next, they struck. A drone latched onto a Zarnathi command ship. It sent out a signal that made their radar show false targets. Another drone slipped into a weapons bay and exploded from the inside. The alien fleet scrambled. "Where are they?" "They're not on sensors. How are they doing this?" But the humans kept moving. Captain Daniel Briggs watched the screen with calm eyes. He didn't cheer, didn't smile. He just observed. He knew what fear looked like. And the Zarnathi were afraid. Not of dying. Not yet. But of not seeing the enemy until it was too late. Back on Earth, this kind of warfare had started with small drones, fast strikes, and silent attacks. It was how they protected borders, how they fought wars without full armies. Now, they brought it to space. The Zarnathi thought war was about size, about numbers, about brute strength. Humans showed them it was about speed, about knowing your enemy, about being where you weren't expected. As more alien ships fell silent, the message spread through the Zarnathi ranks. These humans were not weak. They were not easy prey. They were something new, something dangerous. And for the first time, the galaxy began to wonder, not if Earth could fight, but how much more it could do. No one laughed now, not at the tiny fleet, not at the strange, fast-moving ships that danced through fire and never missed, because the joke was over. And the punchline? It hit hard, and it left scars. The Drax Rift was a narrow stretch of space between two broken planets. Jagged rocks floated like silent ghosts. Radiation rolled in slow waves. It was not a place for ships to fight, but that's where the Zarnathi cornered them. 60 enemy warships, lined up at the far end of the rift, heavy armor, big guns, waiting, and at the near end, 6 human ships. The odds were impossible. On the TSV Liberty E, Amanda Cole checked her screens. She saw what the enemy was doing, closing in, forcing the humans into a tight path. They wanted to trap them. They think we have nowhere to go, she said. Eli Ramirez sat beside her, fingers ready on his controls. Then we show them what we do when we're trapped. Captain Daniel Briggs stood still, watching the screen. He didn't speak for a long moment. Then he gave one order. Don't let them regroup. It was all the crew needed. The tiny fleet split apart. Each ship followed its own path through the rift. Fast, sharp, unpredictable. The Zarnathi fired. Plasma. Bolts lit up the dark. Rock shattered. Dust flew like smoke. But the human ships moved like shadows. They slipped behind asteroids, dodged under fire, danced between death and speed. Small drones launched from hidden bays. They spread out, flying low and quiet. Some stuck to enemy hulls. Others dropped false signals. More carried charges set to explode at just the right time. The Zarnathi tried to track their targets, but every scan came back wrong. Enemy ships are gone. No, there, behind us. What, how? Panic spread. In less than an hour, the battle was over. Half the Zarnathi fleet lay dead in space. Engines failed. Weapons fried. Comms scrambled. The rest ran. The Liberty and her fleet remained, not untouched, but alive. Amanda looked at the damage reports, then at the destroyed enemy ships. We did it, she whispered. Eli nodded. I think they finally get it now. Daniel didn't celebrate. He watched the stars. They will, he said, because this wasn't just a win. It was a message. Humans didn't need big fleets to win. They didn't need ancient tech or alien help. They used brains, skill, and a kind of fighting that made enemies feel blind. Back on Earth, people would hear about this battle. Not right away, but soon. And when they did, they wouldn't see just 6 ships. They'd see something bigger, something that proved the galaxy had made a mistake. Thinking Earth was weak, thinking humans could be ignored. The joke was over, and the galaxy had just learned the punchline, the hard way. The message spread fast, not through warships or battle reports, but through sound, a recording. It started with silence. Then came laughter. Human laughter. Not cruel. Not loud. Just regular people laughing like they knew something the rest of the galaxy didn't. Then a voice. You laughed at our fleet. A pause. Now we're laughing at yours. That was all. No threats. No demands. No victory speech. Just that short. Clip sent across every known frequency. And it hit hard. On Zarnathi ships, officers stared at their speakers in shock. On trade stations, alien crews listened and felt uneasy. Among fringe worlds ruled by stronger species, hope flickered. This wasn't just another battle. This was a statement. Humans had arrived, and they weren't asking for permission. Back on the TSV Liberty I, Amanda Cole watched data come in. The clip was everywhere now, on black markets, on old comms relays, even playing in enemy war rooms. "They're watching," she said. Eli Ramirez leaned back in his seat. "They finally believe us." Daniel Briggs stood near the command post, arms crossed. He didn't smile, but he nodded. He had seen what fear looked like in the eyes of powerful enemies. Now he saw something else. Respect, not given, earned, through skill, through speed, through force. The Zarnathi had thought Earth was weak, a joke, a planet full of slow thinkers and clumsy fighters. But these 6 ships had changed that idea. Not with brute strength, with brains, with timing, with control. And now, the galaxy was listening. Other species began to reach out. Quiet messages came from hidden sources. Traders, smugglers, exiles, people who had suffered under the rule of the big empires. They wanted to know more. They wanted to see what humans could do next, because if a tiny fleet could shake the Zarnathi so badly, what else could Earth do? Amanda looked at Daniel. "Do you think they'll try again?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Maybe." But he wasn't worried, because this time, Earth wouldn't be caught off guard. This time, the galaxy would remember. Laughing at humans was a mistake, one they were never going to make twice. Years before the battle at Drax Rift, Earth had been watching, not just stars, not just space, but danger. Scientists, soldiers, and thinkers saw it coming. The galaxy was not peaceful. Other species ruled with power, not kindness. And Earth was small, new, weak. So they started to prepare, not for war, but for survival. Deep in hidden labs and quiet research centers, teams worked on something different. Not bigger weapons, not stronger ships, something smarter. The TSV Liberty and her fleet were part of that plan. They were never meant to be seen. They were test ships, built to move fast, hide well, and strike hard when needed. No flashy names, no grand speeches, just quiet work. And then came the attack. A human colony, far from Earth, was destroyed without warning. Thousands died. The Zarnathi did it thinking no one would fight back. They were wrong. Earth didn't send a full fleet, not yet. They sent the Liberty 6 ships. A message wrapped in steel. The crew knew what they were doing wasn't just about revenge. It was about proving something. That humans could stand on their own. That they could learn fast. That they could turn fear into strength. Back home, people didn't know all the details. They only knew something had changed. The government didn't say much. But those who watched space closely saw the truth. Earth was no longer just a planet. It was a player, and it played smart on the Liberty. Amanda Cole sat in front of glowing screens, thinking about where she had come from. Once she worked in a small office fixing broken systems. Now she helped break enemy fleets. Eli Ramirez thought about his old job too, building engines that barely left the solar system. Now, he powered ships that danced through fire and lived. Captain Daniel Briggs stood near the window looking at the stars. He remembered the first time he saw the Liberty. He had asked one question. "Will this be enough?" Someone answered, "Not if we fight like everyone else." That's when he understood. Humans didn't need to be the biggest. They needed to be the smartest, the fastest, the most dangerous when no one saw them coming. And now, the galaxy knew. They had laughed at a tiny fleet, and now they were paying attention, because Earth had just shown them one thing clearly. Humans don't just survive. They rise. Not all help came from Earth. After the battle at Drax Rift and the message that followed, something changed. The galaxy had seen humans fight, not just once, but smart, fast, and without fear. And now others wanted to talk. They didn't come in big ships or with loud voices. They came quietly, through coded messages, secret channels, old traders who knew how to move without being seen. One of them was Nora Bell, once a cargo pilot, now a middleman between species who didn't trust each other. She had no army, no weapons, just knowledge and the right contacts. She sent a signal to the TSV Liberty. "You made some noise out there." It read, "Some people are listening." That was all, but Amanda Cole saw the message and smiled. "Looks like we've got fans," she said. Eli Ramirez looked over her shoulder. Or spies. Maybe both. In the days that followed, more messages arrived. Some were simple. "Thank you." Others were offers. Maps, intel, even parts for damaged ships. The Zarnathi had ruled many systems with force. They took what they wanted. Crushed anyone who resisted. Now those same people saw something new. A chance. Humans didn't ask for loyalty. They didn't demand tribute. They didn't take over planets. They helped. They shared what they could, and they fought back. Slowly, the Liberty and her fleet began to move differently. They had better routes, knew where enemy patrols would be, found hidden places to rest and repair. They weren't alone anymore. On the bridge, Daniel Briggs watched the reports come in. He didn't say much, but he understood what was happening. This wasn't just a war. It was a shift. The galaxy had ignored the weak for too long. Now the weak were rising, and humans were leading the way. Nora's last message said it best. "You didn't just win a battle. You started a movement." No one on the crew argued, because deep down they knew. They had come as a small fleet, laughed at, ignored. But now they were something else, something the galaxy couldn't turn away from, a symbol, a warning, a promise. Humans had arrived, and they weren't leaving. The Zarnathi were not used to losing, especially not to a species they once called weak, primitive, unworthy of space. But now, their ships burned, their plans failed. Their commanders feared the name TSEV Liberty. They tried everything. Big warships, filled the sky like walls of steel, firing heavy rounds meant to tear through anything. But the human fleet danced between shots, striking fast before vanishing again. Then came the bioweapons, small drones carrying invisible sickness. They floated into human ships, unseen and silent. But Amanda Cole caught them early. She ran scans, found the threat and shut it down before it could spread. Next, the Zarnathi turned to psychic warfare. They sent mind creatures, beings made of thought and fear, to break the humans from inside. But the crew trained for this. They used noise, light, and focus to stay grounded. One by one, they fought back the attack. Nothing worked. Every trick, every weapon, every plan the Zarnathi threw at them. It failed, because the humans adapted. Eli. Ramirez modified the ship's drive cores, making them pulse in strange ways. Alien sensors couldn't lock on. Enemy missiles missed by seconds. Amanda reprogrammed targeting systems, using captured Zarnathi data to predict enemy moves. The Liberty always knew where to strike next, and Daniel Briggs led them all with quiet strength. He didn't speak much. He didn't need to. His crew knew what they were fighting for, not just Earth, not just revenge, but respect, a place among the stars, and the right to be taken seriously. As more Zarnathi ships fell, panic spread through the Empire. "What are these humans?" one commander asked. "They don't act like others. They don't fight like anyone we know. They keep getting stronger, because that's what humans did. They learned, they improved, they survived, and when pushed, they became something else entirely, something dangerous." In hidden corners of space, other species watched and listened. They saw how 6 ships shook an empire, how a few brave humans stood against impossible odds, and won. And now, across the galaxy, people began to whisper, not about the Zarnathi, not about old powers, but about Earth, about the tiny fleet, about the humans who never stopped fighting, never backed down, and never let the galaxy forget their name. The Zarnathi asked for peace, not out of kindness, but because they had no choice. Their ships were broken, their empire shaken, their pride wounded. Humans had done what no other species had done before. They made the Zarnathi afraid. The TSV Liberty and her fleet returned home, not as heroes with parades, but as proof that Earth could stand on its own, that humans could fight and win, not with brute strength, not with big ships, but with smart minds, fast moves, and heart. Captain Daniel Briggs stood near the window, watching stars pass by. He didn't smile. He didn't cheer. He just watched, because he knew this was only the start. On the bridge, Amanda Cole checked messages from Earth. People were talking, not just about war, but about place, about respect. Eli Ramirez sat beside her, tired but proud. "Do you think we changed things?" he asked. She nodded. "We made them listen." And they had. Every species in the galaxy now knew one thing: never underestimate the tiny fleet, because it wasn't the size that mattered. It was what they did with it. Back home, new pilots trained, new ships were built. New ideas came fast. Earth was no longer just a planet. It was a power, a voice, a force, and it was here to stay. As the Liberty flew toward home, its hull scarred and worn, the crew stayed quiet, not out of fear, but out of understanding. They had gone into space with little more than hope, and they came back with something bigger: respect, fear, and a place among the stars. Because humans don't just survive, they rise. They learn, they fight, and when laughed at, they prove everyone wrong. The galaxy would never forget the tiny fleet from a small blue world. Who showed them all? Never underestimate humans.